And welcome to the special edition of Hannity, the GOP field on the issues. Now, tonight, for the hour, we want to examine the most pressing issues facing you, the voters, and break down in detail where each of the 2016 GOP candidates stand. Now, the Republican hopefuls have been hitting the campaign trail hard, laying out their platforms. Watch this.
We're going to have a border. We're going to build a wall. Mexico is going to pay for the wall. We're not paying.
We start talking about shipping 10, 11 million people out of our country, which, of course, is impossible to do, breaking up families. That's irresponsible.
We should screen people, but we should take in some people. And that we have, this is part of our values as a country.
This administration stands up and says, oh, yes, we're going to accept 100,000 Syrian refugees into this country. I'm a compassionate person, but honestly, we do not know how to vet these people.
We're going to make the American dream bigger and better and stronger.
Simple flat tax would produce 4.9 million new jobs.
Stealing money from people who will be getting money in the future to pay for media concerns is robbing Peter to pay Paul.
I balanced the federal budget with a team of people. We fixed Ohio, and I understand how all these programs work.
Putin is establishing an alliance with Iran and putting a foothold in the Middle East, something that he hasn't had for 40 years.
I would get along with Russia, and I'll get along with Putin. And he's not going to make us look bad anymore.
You know, Obamacare fundamentally changes the relationship between the people and the government.
For every person whose premiums have gone up, they can now thank President Obama.
Under no circumstances will Iran be allowed to acquire nuclear weapons.
On my first day in office, I will cancel this reckless and irresponsible deal with Iran.
And to kick things off, we start with immigration. Now, Donald Trump, he's taking credit for sparking a national conversation on this hot-button issue. And just yesterday, the Fifth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals pushed back against President Obama's executive overreach on immigration by upholding an injunction blocking the administration's plan to protect an estimated 5 million illegal immigrants from being deported. And today, well, the Justice Department announced that it is planning on appealing the decision, going right to the Supreme Court. One thing is crystal clear. America has a broken immigration system, and here's how the GOP candidates plan to fix the problem. Take a look.
We're going to have a border. We're going to build a wall. Mexico is going to pay for the wall. We're not paying.
I would secure the borders, north, south, east, and west. That does not necessarily mean you have to build fences and walls. We can take advantage of electronic surveillance, drones, and a variety of technological features.
There are three main corridors which people cross the southern border across, and we need more walling there, but also more personnel. You need a mandatory E-Verify system. You need an entry-exit tracking system to prevent and track people that have overstayed visas, because that's 40% of the problem. In the 21st century, immigration has to be based on what skills do you have? What are you going to contribute?
We will finally secure the borders and end sanctuary cities.
Here's the deal. We need an E-Verify system. Obviously, we need to enforce the border so that we don't have continuing flow of people coming into our country. Coming here legally ought to be easier than coming here illegally. And it ought to be strategic based on our economic needs, not based on everybody else's needs.
Here with reaction, the author of the brand new book, Sold Out, How High-Tech Billionaires and Bipartisan Beltway Crap Weasels Are Screwing America's Best and Brightest Workers. Our friend Michelle Malkin is back. Good to see you. I know you've been out of pocket. Your daughter's doing better. Congratulations.
Yes, thank you.
And you've been sharing that with the public. You wrote the book Invasion and came under heavy fire back in 2002.
Yeah, that's right.
This issue is now front and center. You know, and your new book really takes it to the next level because so many American workers are being displaced by this competition that's coming in, outside workers, either legally or illegally.
Yeah, that's right. And for much of the last quarter century, we've been trying to push on both fronts to get people to understand the devastating impact of massive illegal immigration on American workers at the low end of the pay scale. But this book is really trying to put at the forefront the fact that collusion between big government and big business and both political parties is having a massive devistating impact on America's best and brightest workers, our tech workers.
This is the reality, though. Both parties don't want the wall, or else the wall would be built by now, right?
That's exactly right.
Because Republicans, they want to cater to big business and cheap labor. And the Democrats, they're probably playing long ball, and they think, oh, this will be a generational shift in voting.
And a way to guarantee a permanent Democratic ruling majority. And that's my frustration with so many of the establishment Republicans, is that they're committing civilizational national suicide by signing on with abominations like the Gang of Eight. And you definitely want to have a candidate who has the right instincts immediately at the right time, and isn't spending his whole entire campaign apologizing for making the wrong decision in the first place.
I think you can argue has the toughest illegal immigration plan out there. Disagree?
I don't disagree. And in fact, we break down in the last chapter of Sold Out the positions, the lip service that's paid to immigration enforcement and protecting American workers, and compare it with the actual records. No question about it. The reason why Donald Trump has appeal is because he's got this alpha male projection of confidence on everything that he says, and people have been hungering, obviously, for somebody who's not going to apologize for every last decision that they've made and every last thing that's come out of their mouth. Unfortunately, even with having a good platform, which is in large part a credit to people like Jeff Sessions, who've been doing yeoman's work for years on this issue, Donald Trump has shown that he's a little bit confused, because he has bought into the same American tech worker shortage myth that's been propagated by these big business CEOs and their water carriers and all of their front groups in D.C. It doesn't exist. There are 11 million out of 15 million Americans who have so-called STEM diplomas who cannot find jobs in those fields because they're being fired and replaced with cheap foreign replacements.
How I think this becomes, it's right up there with the economy and national security. I think it's that big an issue.
No question about it. Invasion was about how immigration has to be treated as a national security issue. These foreign guest worker rackets are definitely a threat to our economic security. That decision yesterday at the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals was huge. It was a landmark, because it wasn't just talking about how these people were avoiding deportation. You had the Obama administration, in collusion with a lot of Republicans who agree with, giving these people work documents and circumventing congressional debate and the law.
Because the Republicans give away their own enumerated powers in the Constitution, either to the executive branch or the judicial branch. They tried to punt with Obamacare, and it backfired. And they may win this time, but it still doesn't make. They should be doing these things themselves.
If you're a constitutional conservative, prove it and stop being a sellout.
All right, great new book. Good to see you back.
Thank you.
All right, and